I cried that whole night. I never wanted to be married. It was a horrible wedding.
It was a mess.
I really didn't want to get married.
Those are not tabloid rumors. Those are Jada Pinkett Smith's own words, spoken on camera, repeated in her memoir, confirmed again and again over the years. The bride cried the entire way down the aisle because she never wanted to walk down it in the first place. And the man standing at the end of it, the man who had given up everything to be there, had no idea that the woman he loved had already decided this marriage was a mistake before it even began. At 53, Jada Pinkett Smith finally admitted what Will Smith spent 25 years trying not to see. And once you hear the full story, the slap at the Oscars is no longer the headline. It is the final crack in a man who had been breaking for a quarter century. Because here is what the world got wrong about Will Smith. They saw a man who lost control. They saw a man who threw away his career in 6 seconds. But what they did not see was the 25 years that came before. The jealousy he could never shake, the wedding where his bride sobbed, the entanglement with a 23-year-old their own son brought into the house, the public humiliation she forced him to sit through on camera, and the separation she never told him was permanent. What broke Will Smith was not Chris Rock, it was the woman he gave his whole life to. It started in 1994. Will Smith was the biggest star on television. Fresh Prince had made him a household name. He was 25 years old, worth millions, and married to his first wife, Cherie Zampino. They had a son named Trey, but the marriage was already unraveling when Jada Pinkett walked into an audition for the show. She did not get the part. They said she was too short, but Will noticed her. He waited until his divorce was finalized in 1995, before he called. And from that first call, he was all in. Two young, brilliant, impossibly ambitious people building something together. Will had the charm that made the whole world fall in love with him. Jada had a fire he could not resist. Magazine covers called them the perfect couple. Hollywood royalty, the real thing. By November 1997, Jada was pregnant. Will proposed in bed, not on a rooftop, not with cameras rolling, just the two of them, and he was happy. He was building the family he had always wanted. But Jada did not want a wedding. She wanted it to be just the two of them on a mountaintop, something private. When her mother found out there would be no ceremony, she called Will in tears. And Will, being Will, the man who wanted everyone around him to feel loved, sided with her mother. So on New Year's Eve 1997, in Baltimore, in front of 100 guests, Jada Pinkett walked down the aisle in a silk velvet Badgley Mishka gown, 3 months pregnant, and she cried the entire way down. Not tears of joy, tears of fury. She called the day horrible. She said she was so upset about being forced into a wedding she never wanted that she could barely stand. And she said it years later, on camera, on her own show, in front of Will, with the same certainty she said it on day one.
I really didn't want to get married, but I was under so much pressure, you know, being a young actress, being young, and I was just like pregnant. And I was just like, I didn't know what to do. But I just knew, I was like, I never wanted to be married.
I never wanted to be married. He knew then. He knew it before the vows were finished. He knew it the moment he saw her face walking toward him, crying, and pretending it was something else. But he stayed. Because Will Smith believed if he just loved her hard enough, it would be enough. They had Jaden in 1998 and Willow in 2000. Will's career went stratospheric. Men in Black, Ali, The Pursuit of Happiness, 2 Oscar nominations. He was earning $20 million a film. Forbes called him the most bankable star in Hollywood, and together they built an empire. A 25,000-square-foot mansion in Calabasas on 150 acres, designed from scratch. Construction took 7 years. The compound had a private gym, a recording studio, a man-made lake, and multiple sports courts. At its peak, their combined real estate portfolio was worth over $70 million. From the outside, they were untouchable, the couple everyone wanted to be. Will would take Jada to premieres, and the cameras could not get enough. He would joke about her on talk shows with the kind of warmth that made audiences believe this was the real thing. That out of all the marriages in Hollywood, this one was built to last. But inside, something was rotting, and it had a name that Will could never say out loud. Tupac Shakur. Will has admitted publicly that he had, in his own words, a raging jealousy over Jada's connection to Tupac. They met at the Baltimore School for the Arts as teenagers. Their bond was deep, legendary, and by every account, it was the defining relationship of Jada's life. Will wrote in his memoir that he was tortured by their connection. He said he wanted Jada to look at him the way she looked at Tupac. He said he was in the same room as Tupac on multiple occasions and could never bring himself to speak to him because the jealousy made it impossible. Tupac was murdered in September 1996, a year before Will and Jada married, and the ghost of that relationship never left. You cannot compete with a living person, but you cannot compete with a dead one. A living rival can disappoint her. A dead one becomes perfect forever. That ghost lived in the house, in the silences, in every room of that 25,000 square foot mansion that Will built with his bare hands and his career and his desperate need to prove that he could give her a life. Tupac never could. And none of it mattered. Because you cannot outbuild a memory. You cannot out-earn a feeling. You cannot construct a house big enough to fill the space left by someone who died before you ever had a chance to compete. He knew before the tabloids confirmed it. He knew before she said it on camera. He probably knew before she admitted it to herself. Now fast forward to 2016. Will and Jada had been married for nearly 20 years. And according to Jada, they looked each other in the eyes and made a decision. They would separate in every way except legally. Not a public announcement, not a divorce. Just two people who would continue showing up as a family while living completely separate lives. Jada wrote in her memoir that she was in a chronic state of discontent. She said their pictures of a happily married couple just did not match anymore. She later told Hoda Kotb on NBC that they had been living completely separate lives since 2016, 7 years before the world found out. And that would have been bad enough on its own, but Will thought they were working on things. He thought the separation was a pause, not an ending. She let the world believe they were still together. And while Will was out there defending their marriage, protecting her name, showing up at every red carpet with his hand on her back, Jada had already checked out. And then came August Alsina. During that separation, while Will was still wearing his wedding ring and calling her his wife in interviews, Jada began a relationship with a 23-year-old R&B singer named August Alsina. Their son Jaden had introduced them. Her own son brought this man into their family, and she started a relationship with him. August was 23 years old, Jada was 45. A 22-year age gap, and their son was the bridge. August later said publicly that Will had given his blessing, that the relationship happened with full knowledge and permission. Whether that is entirely true is something only the three of them know. But what is undeniable is what happened next. In July 2020, after August told the world about the relationship, Jada sat Will down on Red Table Talk, her own show in front of cameras, and made him sit there while she described the relationship to millions of viewers. She called it an entanglement. Not a mistake, not a regret, an entanglement. The internet turned it into a meme within hours. Will Smith, the most beloved man in Hollywood, reduced to a punchline because his wife slept with a man younger than some of their furniture. His face in that moment told you everything. The tight jaw, the hollow eyes, the silence of a man who had spent 25 years absorbing hits and had just taken the biggest one on live television in front of the whole world. On her show, on her terms. And it did not stop there. In October 2023, while promoting her memoir Worthy, Jada revealed the 2016 separation for the first time. She said she finally felt free. She was doing press tours, morning shows, podcasts, smiling, laughing, telling the world about the marriage she escaped while the man she escaped from was still trying to rebuild the career she helped destroy. That memoir sold over 21,000 copies in its first week and debuted at number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. She was profiting from the wreckage. Every chapter, every interview, every revelation was another piece of their private life sold to the public, and Will was the one paying the real price, because the slap had already taken everything from him. He knew before she wrote the book. He knew before she went on her press tour smiling about freedom. He knew that every word she published was another nail in a coffin. He was still lying inside. And the worst part is, he could not say a word, because defending himself meant attacking the mother of his children. And Will Smith, whatever else you think about him, was never going to do that. On March 27, 2022, Chris Rock walked onto the Oscar stage and made a joke about Jada's shaved head, a result of alopecia she had been living with publicly and painfully for years. And something inside Will Smith, something that had been held together with duct tape and willpower for 25 years, finally gave way. He walked onto that stage. He slapped Chris Rock in front of the entire world. And then he sat back down and screamed from his seat, "Keep my wife's name out of your mouth." My wife? He said wife. He had not called her that in 6 years. They had been separated since 2016. But in that moment, on the biggest night of his career, The night he was about to win his first Academy Award, he reached for the only word that still meant something to him, even though it had stopped meaning something to her years ago. The consequences were immediate, and they were brutal. The Academy banned Will Smith from the Oscars for 10 years. He resigned from the Academy before they could expel him. Netflix shelved Fast and Loose, a project he was attached to. His Q score, the industry measurement of likability, dropped from 39 to 24 overnight. Industry estimates put his lost earnings between $50 and $100 million. Studios that had been lining up to work with him went silent. For 2 years, he was radioactive. And while the world debated whether he deserved forgiveness, Will was alone, not performing for cameras, not spinning narratives on talk shows, alone in the wreckage of a career he had spent 30 years building, trying to figure out how a man worth $350 million could feel like he had nothing left. They started selling off properties. A 5-bedroom house in Maryland sold for $817,000. A home in Woodland Hills, originally bought for $910,000, was listed for $2 million. The 150-acre Calabasas compound they built together, once valued at $42 million, sat on those rolling hills like a monument to everything that had collapsed. 150 acres of proof that you can build the biggest house in California and still not have a home. But here is where this story takes a turn that the headlines never gave you. Will Smith did not disappear. He did not spiral. He did not go on a revenge tour. He went quiet, and then slowly he rebuilt. In June 2024, Bad Boys Ride or Die opened to $56 million domestically and grossed over $400 million worldwide against a $100 million budget. The man Hollywood had written off proved that his audience never left. They were waiting for him. In March 2025, he released an album called Based on a True Story, his first music in 20 years, 14 tracks of pain, reflection, and faith. He called it the first in a trilogy of albums, seasons shaped by resilience and introspection. The reviews were mixed, the charts did not move, but that was not the point. The point was that Will Smith chose to process his pain through music, not through a tell-all memoir designed to humiliate someone else. And that is the difference that tells you everything about these two people. By September 2025, Paramount signed Will to a new multi-project deal. I Am Legend 2 with Michael B. Jordan. Sugar Bandits, Rabbit Hole. The industry was not just forgiving him, they were betting on him again. Because whatever happened on that Oscar stage, the audience understood something the tabloids refused to say. Will Smith was not a villain. He was a man who had been pushed past his limit by a quarter-century of silence, humiliation, and a marriage that had been hollowed out from the inside by the very person who promised to stay. And Jada? She is back on Netflix, reprising her role in the A Different World reboot. She showed up with Will at Paris Fashion Week 2026 to support their son Jaden's collection with Christian Louboutin, still legally married, still not divorced, still circling each other in the way that only two people can when they have built children and empires and decades of shared memory that neither one is ready to dismantle completely. But Will Smith never did any of that. He never wrote a tell-all. He never dragged her name through the press. He never sat on a talk show and described her failures in front of cameras. He absorbed every hit, every headline, every meme, and he came back with a movie that made $400 million and an album that said everything he needed to say without saying her name once. She wrote a memoir monetizing their pain. He wrote music processing his. She told the world she felt free. He showed the world what freedom actually looks like by earning it back, one project at a time, without destroying anyone else in the process. If you have ever watched someone you loved rewrite the story of your marriage for profit, if you have ever stayed quiet while someone else got the applause for walking away from something you spent decades trying to hold together, then you already understand why Will Smith snapped. And you understand why it was never about Chris Rock. 25 years, 2 children, $350 million, and a slap heard around the world. Will Smith did not just survive the most public humiliation in modern Hollywood, he walked through it, rebuilt on the other side, and let his work speak where his words never would. She did not have to say it. Her memoir, her press tour, her entanglement, her laughter on morning television while he was still picking up the pieces, all of it said it for her. What do you think? Did Will deserve better? Or was this always going to end the same way? Drop your take in the comments. If this story hit you, make sure you are subscribed. We have another one coming that you will not want to miss. She wrote a book about their marriage. He wrote an album, and only one of them had the decency not to use her name.